everybody, welcome back to Spiritual Fluffers. It's Jason and Amy here. Today's episode is called Cheeseburgers and Heartbreaks.
Not Paradise. Sorry.
So, Cheeseburgers and Heartbreaks is the title for today's episode because our purpose for today is to share with you how incarnations here on planet Earth are about experiencing the entire spectrum of emotions. And I'm sorry for those of you who may be vegetarian or vegan, even though I am vegetarian these days. We use the construct of a cheeseburger because it's sort of this Americana, everybody loves a cheeseburger. We could easily have used birthday parties or weddings or whatever we want to use to represent some sort of happy, celebratory something versus heartbreaks, which is pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. And the point of that is that the experience of everything we love, joy, happiness, bliss, to everything that we feel is sad and destructive and harmful to us, we incarnated here to experience that whole spectrum, right?
Yep. I mean, and we think that our schooling is actually from K to 12, but it really is our emotional and spiritual development on this planet. That's why we came here. I think Hans Wilhelm has a pretty good series on this.
Yes.
Other ones have really good series on this. But again...
Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, Eckhart Tolle's got a great one. But again, as soon as we start seeing this as almost a science experiment or class, we get to retake power over this world. Unfortunately, usually what happens is we become not an active participant in our own happiness or our own development. But as soon as we switch the trigger from
right.
This is a school.
Right. Well, or from thinking that you have no co-creative abilities. Yeah. So thinking that things are happening to you in your lifetime, whether the relationship, if it's a divorce, that relationship failed. Yeah. Right.
And
no so such thing seeing as that, that this relationship failed, that perspective is pervasive.
That's just a relationship you got an A+ on.
Exactly, right? So what does that mean? So let's talk about that. I have a relationship that ended up in a divorce. Society has told me I'm a failure for having had a divorce.
Well, and your ego self is using it to beat you up. But really what's happened is you've learned extraordinarily about yourself, about your emotional control. You got the wide gambit of both happiness and peaks and rivers. So, I mean, I would say you would want to think about that almost not in a dissociative state, but in a way of saying, hey, no, I actually learned a ton about this, and I'm not going to make the same mistake again. Now, unfortunately, sometimes with relationships, we like to earn another gold star and basically marry the same person or date the same person. You want another gold star, you can get one.
You go get one.
Yeah.
I've definitely done it.
You don't have to.
So I think this is really interesting, and it plays off of other videos that we've made around this sort of being a co-creator, right, of your own happiness and an active participant in creating your own happiness, and realizing that even something society may call a failure can be reframed inside your own head and heart and spirit, that it is a point of learning. I always use this phrase that sailors learn how to sail on rough seas. They don't learn how to sail on safe seas because it's easy. Yep. But when what hits the fan and you're out on the ocean and a storm's coming in, buddy, that's where you learn your critical skills.
That's where you grow spiritually and emotionally. We also were taking the opposite of this. When you're being apathetic and your life's in mono, you're probably building up power sources and building up that desire to make that jump. But again, you're really not growing spiritually. And unfortunately, sometimes we all get stuck in sometimes this life of mono where we take the easy route. We take I could go out and I could go meet people, but
then someone might hurt me if I fall in love again. Then that's gonna, I don't want to go through that. Yeah. And we write this story based on the script that we've been given from the societal standpoint. And I think it's really interesting when we were preparing for this, you were saying all of us think that school here is K-12 or K-12 through college if you go to college. And while that is certainly an education, it is not necessarily the education, the soul level education for why we chose to come here. Yep. We chose to come here to expand our soul's understanding of all aspects of experience.
Yeah, and I think what we'll try to do in the next chapter, in the next one, is to actually have a technique on how to expand your both emotional control, your complete memory control, complete emotional control, and spiritual development if you want to.
Yeah, I think we can do a special one on that. We can actually pop that on the website as well in terms of like a meditation that you can go through. And I think particularly for those who may have gone through traumatic childhoods or traumatic experiences even in adulthood, it is possible to reframe and re-script those experiences inside your mind, heart, soul, and spirit, so that you can actually begin to live the rest of your existence down here outside of that trauma frame, right?
Yep.
And I think that would be super helpful, and we'll definitely pop that up there. I think to continue down the line for us on this one, though, I want us to think about this concept of there is no bad decision or there is no wrong decision.
Yep.
So if I choose, because I've been through a divorce, to not enter into another relationship again out of fear, out of anxiety, that's okay. I'm going to learn at a soul level certain things about isolation, possibly loneliness. Ways to be with myself more effectively. So I'm still going to learn. It's not bad. However, if I do get brave and I venture into a new relationship with someone, and it likely is going to encounter ups and downs and bumps and right? That's what human interactions do.
It's a little messy.
Then just even describing those two things, you automatically know I'm going to learn more.
Oh yeah, I
right?
think so. Well, and again, like you're going in as a different person. Unfortunately, sometimes we carry our baggage from our last relationship, but we're a completely and utterly different person.
What's funny on that is if any of you, please watch Eliza Schlesinger on Netflix. She's got the funniest, I think it's the elder millennial one, where she talks about women, we keep all of our old baggage in, and then we appear as if we're different now, and the new guy's like, oh my God, you're amazing. And you're like, great, I'm going to bring all my shit with me into this new one.
It's not just women. I think guys do it too. I think we all do it because, again, our ego goes back and takes control of us and says, oh, I've got this. And you're like, no, stop.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those weird things where it's what we do. we like to make it, we're like, it might be too easy. Let's
just make it harder for ourselves.
Yeah.
Definitely want to see the playing chess against yourself episode on that one. We'll make sure and put that link below.
I think so. Yeah, because again, like it's weird how like everything interconnects. But I would say, ego and society with the Cheeseburgers and Heartbreaks, not Paradise, is again, it's both society and our egos doing it. And again, if we just relaxed and said, hey, this is a really great science experiment, this is really interesting, we would enjoy the process a lot more than using this. Unfortunately, if we don't do that, we tend to suffer more than what we think we should.
Well, tell me a little bit about that. So I get, and we've talked about this in other episodes too, this perspective of trying to come out of the life that you're living and almost be an objective observer in it. So being able to look down and see, okay, why is Amy making those choices? Why is Amy hurting this way? Why is Amy happy or sad? That helps to allow me to be that co-creator, and I'm not quite so much, I don't like using the term victim, but maybe that I'm not quite so much vulnerable to the sway of the collective consciousness. I'm actually an actively observing, seeing what I'd like and I don't like, making a new decision here or there, right? Yeah,
because unfortunately, like if we aren't the active participant in our own happiness or our active participant observer, then unfortunately what happens is we give control back to usually our ego, and then it's like, oh, I'm just going to both play it safe and then beat you up over it.
Yeah.
And again, it's just really about this. Our perception of this is mostly just seizing control.
So in thinking about that, then I've sort of implied here that there's really no bad decision. There's no wrong decision.
Nope.
However, there are decisions that are more or less
on the path
to spiritual development or soul expansion.
Soul, emotional control, and spiritual control.
And so one of the things that we want to share with you is that if you are reaching a point where you have apathy, let's talk a little bit about that kind of is a little bit of a red flag, that you're almost disengaging with your soul's interaction.
Oh, you're totally
here.
checking it. And then you can usually see, I usually can see it I see it in older men a lot where they will check out. And it happens to women, but maybe I just see it because
you're just not as exposed, maybe.
Yeah, women tend not to do it as much because they're like, no, I need to survive. Whereas a guy will completely and utterly check out of the relationship of that. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means usually depression and giving up, which is, I would say not good.
Yeah, right.
but yeah, especially for the relationship, because if you are in a relationship with someone who's apathetic, it is extraordinarily hard to break them of that apathy because they've given up and they've accepted hopelessness.
Yeah.
And again, you can either choose to try to work with that, but don't get angry with them. Recognize it for what it is.
Well, and I think I just wanted to make sure we touched on it a little bit, because we're being funny about Cheeseburgers and Heartbreaks and this wild swinging of spectrum of super fun, exciting things like weddings and babies and, happy birthdays, to the sad things like funerals and divorces and loss, you know. But there is this space in the middle that society and that you can default into, almost like you're giving up. It's too much to try to always be happy, and it's too much to battle the constant sadness. So
cruise control.
Exactly.
We'll call it emotional cruise control,
Yeah.
which usually turns into apathy if you're not aware of it. And again, we just want you to, if you're starting to feel that way, go back to saying, oh, wow, we're in a science experiment. I'm actually in control of this. I'm going to do my own experiments.
Yeah. Try some decisions out.
Yeah.
Like, see if there are decisions that help engage you a little more or less, or ones that you see yourself feeling more intensely. Mm-hmm. Like, ouch, I'm about to burn my hand again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And let me try a different solution. Yeah.
So the final piece of this is that we're really wanting you to think through, where are you in this? Mm-hmm. Like, look at yourself, look at your life, look at how you're engaging with life. Are you an avid rule follower? Like, you're almost afraid to break any kinds of rules, whether they're religious rules or personal rules.
Oops. Yeah,